Good afternoon, everyone. I want to echo my colleagues in saying that it's good to be home. Austin is a nice city, but this session was brutal, as you've heard. I've been in the House now 4 sessions, and this was the toughest one that I've seen. And hearing from people that had been there 20 plus years, it was the toughest one they had seen. I'll agree with Representative Pena, with Aaron, when he says that we balanced the budget and we didn't raise taxes. But I will tell you this, we balanced the budget on the backs of children, and we balanced the budget on the backs of the poor. And I'll tell you why. You know, everybody always says, know your audience. Know your audience when you speak. But you also have to know your region. And one of the things that I'm very proud of is, as a Democrat, I have always represented McAllen, which has been a city that has been, actually my district has been about 50-50. And I've always been reelected. And that's because I think we all stand for the same thing. We represent our region, and we don't necessarily go by what the party believes in wholly. But this session was one where we had, when we went into session, the Republicans outnumbered us tremendously in the House. 101 Republicans, 49 Democrats. They went in and told the media, we can do whatever we want because we don't need the Democrats to pass a bill. And we knew that. We knew that. But yet it took 170 days, a special session on top of a regular session, to get things done. And at the end of the day, what happened was we took a cuts-only approach rather than trying to be more balanced. We said, let's not take anything off the table because there's some things we can't sacrifice. But there were very strong groups that were having rating cards and were watching people and we're rating you, and we're watching you, and we're going to have a score. At the end of the day, the only people that should score you are your constituents, the people that vote for you. It shouldn't be some group outside there that has political power that scores you. It should be, what are my folks back home going to say about this? And so there were times that many of the Republicans voiced to us, we want to tap into the rainy day funds. It's got almost $9 billion. It's expected to have $9 billion in it. We want to use some of those monies to fund public education. We want to use some of those monies to fund health and human services because we know that if we don't, the price we're going to pay later on down the road is going to be even bigger. But we can't because we're being told that we're being rated. And we're being told that if we do it, we're going to be in trouble come campaign time. Well, we shouldn't have to worry about campaign time. When we're in session, we're there to do the work. We're not there to do the campaign. And what ended up happening was we did not use 1 cent of the rainy day fund for this upcoming biennium. We only used it to carry us through the end of the year. And we did not raise a cent in taxes, including closing loopholes. We didn't close loopholes, which most people will agree. I don't like my taxes raised, but you can close some loopholes. Don't give a break to some of the richest. You know, make us more fair. But none of that happened. It was a cuts-only approach, and that's why we're in the position we're in today. You know, everybody says, well, money's not everything, money's not everything, and money's not everything. But let me tell you, when you're talking about Texas being dead last on the graduates 25 and over, that's where we stand right now in the rankings, number 50. When you talk about state aid for pupils, we're number 47 in the country. High school graduation rate, 43rd in the country. SAT scores, 45th in the country. Teacher pay, 33rd in the country. When you're talking about statistics like that, money does matter. Because if we start cutting it to the point that we're not even funding what we had for last time, and we're sure not funding enrollment growth. I see some of the Doctors Hospital folks here, and they love to tell you the story that just alone at their hospital, they're birthing 800 babies a month. That's an elementary school a month. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with that or not, it's reality. 800 babies a month, and that's one hospital. So when you have that type of enrollment coming to your schools, when you start cutting $4 billion, what's going to happen to us? What's going to happen to the quality of education for our kids? When it comes to health and human services, we cut Medicaid, $4.8 billion. We're $4.8 billion short on Medicaid, and we're going to run out of money in March of this coming year, they've already told us. Okay, so you might not like the idea of Medicaid, but we live in an area that has about 80% Medicaid. Okay, the numbers change from city to city, but 80% Medicaid. And what are we doing? We're going to bring managed care. We're going to bring HMOs into the valley. That means that the HMOs are going to take money off the top because their job is to cut the amount of money that is being spent. Okay, so we're concerned about what is that going to do to access to care? What is that going to do when you roll out a program that people don't know about and you're covering the largest service area in the state? Because that's what we will be, the largest service in the area in the state that will now have these HMOs coming in. Doctors are already going to take about a 10% cut, provider cut. And then you're going to see on top of that additional constraints being put on, no, you can't run that test, no, you can't do this, no, this person has to go to this particular doctor. What doctor, you don't like it? Okay, opt out. And that's what we're going to see. So Senator Hinojosa and I put some protections in that we hope will help to ease some of the hurt that we're going to maybe see with managed care. I'm not saying it's a terrible program. It has worked well in some areas of the state, but those areas of the state have a very low Medicaid population, not a very high one like we do. So that's another challenge that we're seeing, and the impact of those cuts are going to hit us here in the Rio Grande Valley. For me, this is a bittersweet day because I love my city of McAllen. This is the city I chose to live in. This is the city I chose to move to when I came from Austin, when I went to UT Law and I moved here. And it was the city that when I decided I wanted to run, that I always wanted to represent. But we also went through redistricting this session, and redistricting is a very partisan battle. That's what it is. Democrats try to get more Democrat seats. Republicans try to get more Republican seats. Well, it just so happened that if you look at all the Rio Grande Valley, where do the Republicans in the Rio Grande Valley live? And they lived in my district. So my district was taken from me. I have about 1.5% of my original district coming in. I will no longer represent the city of McAllen. In fact, I will, if I decide to take on the new task, I would represent parts of FAR, parts of Hidalgo, part of Donna, part of San Juan, Alamo, maybe a little part of Alamo, I believe. Completely new district. No longer have Sherryland, no longer have the part of Edinburgh I have. I would have another part of Edinburgh and would no longer have McAllen. So it is a very bittersweet day for me here because you're the people that I know, you're the people that I've gotten to know, you're the ones I've established my relationships with, and you're the ones that I've represented, I hope, well, despite or in spite of party affiliation. Because I knew my region, I knew my audience, I knew my voters. And regardless of what I choose to do, I will always be here for the people, the region of the Rio Grande Valley. On a couple of items, the Water District bill, I see Mr. Brand here. I know he was on the other side. I hope we tried to remain as respectful as we could through the proceedings. I still believe that the district should have been dissolved, and I was proud to work with legislators that agreed, 136-5 in the House. Even though there was 101 Republicans, I had most of them, the majority, large majority, that voted with me on that. But the governor chose to veto it. I don't agree with his decision, and I agree with Senator Hinojosa because I spoke to the governor's office, and the consensus seemed to be it was for political reasons that the veto came. There was another bill that I would try again, and it's the Border Economic Bureau bill. It was a way to study how do we improve economics along the Texas-Mexico border. That bill was going to cost zero. We had a private university willing to fund the project, do the studies. We would report to the legislature. It would possibly bring millions, if not billions, to the Texas-Mexico border region. It passed the House, and it passed with a very high majority, passed the Senate. I think it might have passed 31-0 in the Senate, and it was vetoed by Governor Perry. So I leave you with that because I ask you, you might like somebody because you think, oh, he's a sharp-looking guy. I like what he said. He recognized me in a speech. He did this. But think about the cuts that we're experiencing. Think about what happened to the border. And remember that when you go to the polls the next time. Thank you so much.